Well, this is it after the long journey. We're actually fishing in Panama, in the Pacific, because as you know, there's the Panama Canal that joins the Pacific to the Caribbean, but this is the Pacific side. We're after rooster fish mainly, but Cabarrus Snapper, anything that's going to take our lures. And at the moment, I'm using surface poppers. We're trying a combination of the guide's tackle, Lalo, and he's got some good kit. And I'm also using some of my own stuff as well to see how that performs. But the main thing is, you've got to create as much surface action with these lures as you can, and it seems to drive the fish into a frenzy. What we tend to do first thing in the morning here, get out early, and Lalo's got a friend who provides some baits. So we're going to be using poppers, surface lures, we're going to be using plugs, we're going to be using baits as well, and also I'm going to try the fly as well, see if I can catch on that. But the guy who catches the baits for us, we meet him first thing in the morning, and then we fish for baits for a little while as well, try and catch some sardines or whatever we can get hold of. And then we get out, and sometimes we're motoring an hour or so to get to where we're going to fish. Rooster fish are amazing fish. They've got a huge dorsal fin that comes up when they're attacking and when they're fighting, like a rooster's comb, which is why they're called a rooster fish. And ever since I saw photographs of rooster fish, I've wanted to catch them. And this is one of the places you can come. And it's January back home, we've got snow on the ground. We almost missed our flight in Paris because the snow was so heavy, and here we are in 90 degrees, beautiful heat, trying to catch these rooster fish. Now, roosters are actually a member of the trevally family. So as any of you know who's fished for saltwater species before and fished for GTs, you know how hard they fight. And roosters apparently fight incredibly hard as well, and they jump, which is what GTs don't do. So we're hoping we can get a few of these roosters. In fact, I'm hoping I can catch plenty of them. Another fish I've heard of but haven't actually caught myself are Cabarrus Snappers. Now, they're almost a pink looking fish. They've got big white teeth and they're amazing fish, but they grow really big out here as well, so you can catch 60-pound plus Cabarrus, and I should imagine catching them on something like this would be pretty exciting. Cabarrus Snapper are big and mean. I had to step up my gear for these amazingly hard fighting fish that would rise up from 30 meters to smash into my surface popper. The rod would hammer over and the reel, with a very tight clutch, would scream as these big muscular red fish would head back to the rocky depths. Amazing. Cabarrus proved to be one of the hardest fighting fish that I would encounter in Panama. Some anglers enjoy full-on, intense fishing every day. I like a day off between the long and productive fishing sessions. The launch gardens are now well established after a decade of cultivation. They're a great place to relax. They're alive with colour, and the plants and trees attract a variety of birds. Panama's a bird watcher's paradise with almost 1,000 species of birds. The pool is a great place to enjoy a drink and cool off during hot, sunny days. Now, I was fortunate here because I was the only person actually fishing. So normally there's two, sometimes more people to a boat who are fishing. But because I was the only one fishing, I was very happy to have either Lalo or Chino fish, or both of them at times, because they've got extreme knowledge of this area. They know how to fish. I could be fishing, say, a surface popper off the front of the boat. One of them can be fishing a subsurface lure at the back of the boat, and the other one can be fishing a bait. So we can cover all three different areas, and then whatever's working best we can change to quickly and try and maximize our catch. So I'm quite happy to have these guys fish. We want a happy boat, and we certainly did have a great time. We've come out by this reef here and we started to get hits, caught a couple of fish. My goodness, everything in the sea fights hard. You forget that sometimes back home. It's really exciting stuff. They come up and nail this popper, and it's all visual. That's the great thing. Oh, that was a great hit. Now it's gone deep. I don't want it to get round any of those rocks and break the line. There's such a massive variety of places you can fish off this coastline of Panama. What Lalo tends to be doing is trying along rock faces, and maybe then there's a little island, maybe there's just a clump of rock somewhere, and you can see the shallower water underneath you, and then it brings you to a fantastic beach like this. No single technique works best. Be prepared to change according to conditions and species. In one area, I would be casting medium-sized lures and poppers. Then when amongst bigger fish, I would step up the power of my rod and my reel. When fishing around steep drop-offs for the big Cabarrus and the big roosters, my guide would switch to troll deadbaits on heavy class gear. My biggest rooster came to this method. It's always difficult to know what's on next here. Looks like Spanish mackerel? Mackerel. What a beautiful looking fish. Wow. Here we are, how's that? That's a Spanish mackerel. One of the key things of fishing out here in the tropics is to have a good boat. Good boat, good skipper, good crew. We were very fortunate. We've definitely had that. On the back of our boat there were not one but two 175 horsepower engines, so they could take you from A to B very quickly. There's times out here that you might be doing 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 miles in a day, which is a lot of motoring out at sea. Out here there's four main methods of fishing. There's casting lures, there's trolling, normally with lures or it could be with bait. There's bait fishing, and if things are just right, you can fly fish as well, and you can catch fish on the fly. Our normal method of fishing was to fish out the front of the boat from a moving boat, so you're always being pushed forward, so the person at the front of the boat has the new clean water to cast into. So fishing surface lures, poppers. I love this style of fishing, but it's difficult. You've got to cast a long way. As soon as the lure hits the water, you've got to start working the rod to work that popper into the waves or into the calm water to make as much splash of commotion as possible. But when you get the hits, sometimes the water just explodes as the fish hits the lure. It's really visual and good. Yeah, sun's getting up. Put my buff up. First cast, whack. Follow, I can see it following. Polarized glasses, you can see them following behind the lure. It wasn't splashing, it was just following. So I slowed it down a little bit, just near the boat, and it nailed it. Fantastic hit that was. Then it headed down, so I think this is a jack. Great fish to catch, real hard fighters. Solid muscle. Broken away. Great fun on these surface poppers, it's just amazing. Yes! Hey, wow, what a take. What a take. We've been watching a number of different species of boobies diving down into the water, taking these bait fish that have been driven up by whatever's below them, which I'm not quite sure at the moment. But the frigate birds can't land in the water because they can't take off. If their wings get wet, they can't take off. So what the frigate birds do is try and take the food out of the booby's mouth, so to speak. There's loads of action here at the moment. It's incredible. This is what I came to see. The sea just being smashed up by fish eating other fish. Wow. Look at that. What a fish. Look at that. That's a big fish. Big Jack Crevalle. There's shoals of these chasing up the bait fish. And we're chasing at full speed at times to get onto them. Fishing surface poppers. This is exciting stuff. Let's put it back and get another. Fishing subsurface lures, normally plugs, you cast them as far as you can once again, and they're normally floating. And then as soon as you start to retrieve, there's a diving vane on the front of them, and the faster you retrieve them, the more they dig down into the water. Now, the bait fish out here swim very fast, and the fish chasing them swim even faster. So you've got to fish everything fast. So once again, you've got to work at it and get those lures going. But again, the takes can be sensational, can just stop everything, and then the fight begins. Now, I'm not the best person in the world at getting up in the mornings, but we're up before daybreak here, have breakfast, get the golf cart down to the jetties, get in the boat before the sun comes up. Using my longer rod gave me better balance. However, it was not quite up to the mark for the real big brutes. Even though I tightened the drag as tight as I could, these hard fighting fish still screamed line off the reel. Jacks have amazing strength and real stamina. Beautiful looking fish. By the tail, there's some real sharp bits, hence the glove. Real necessary, but thankfully, once you get them aboard, they do calm down a little bit. And like most jacks, they croak. Great fish there. He's croaking now. What a fish. What a fantastic place. Well done, skipper. Back he goes. The sun's only been up for about 20 minutes. And it's already in the mid-80s, and it'll get to probably mid-90s today. Hence the buff and all our long sleeve shirts and plenty of factor 50 sunscreen. Fishing in these tropics is absolutely amazing, but you do have to realise that it's a real, truly physical experience. You're casting lures for hours and hours on end. You've got to cast a long way, you've got to retrieve them back, and then when you hook a fish, you've got to play it. And sometimes these fish pull so hard you feel like they're going to pull you over the side of the boat. It's incredible. Now, we normally tended to get to the boat at 7 o'clock in the morning. We were out there till 6 o'clock at night, so it's hours and hours in heat that's sometimes mid-90s. There's no getting away from it. There is a canopy on the boat, but it's so hot out there. So you have to be dressed for it, and you have to make sure you're hydrated at all times. So lots and lots of water, lots of energy drinks if you prefer that. Personally, I don't think it's a great idea drinking alcohol out there because it's only going to dehydrate you. Save the alcohol to the evening when you come in and you can celebrate all the fish you've caught. The sun and these temperatures is fantastic, but it's also dangerous. So nowadays you do need to dress for it. Number one, you need long sleeve shirts, you need long trousers, not shorts. Normal sort of deck daps or anything you want to wear in the boat is fine. Trainers are fine. A buff is a great thing. A buff will protect your neck. You can pull it up over your ears. You can pull it right up over your nose if you like, with a peaked hat on as well. You definitely want one of those to shade you from the sun. And you need very, very high sunscreen, sun protection factor sunscreen. I normally use factor 50, and you want to make sure you put plenty on. And also you want something for your lips. So take one of these little lip sunscreen protectors, minimum factor 30, and keep reapplying it. The final thing you need definitely is a really good pair of polarized sunglasses. Not just because they give you protection from the sun's rays themselves, but also because you need to see through the water and see the fish. A lot of the time you'll see a fish following you on a subsurface lure and on the surface lures as well. But the subsurface lures, you can see these fish come in, you can see them hit the lure. When you're retrieving your lures, you want to retrieve them nice and fast, get them following, but when they're following, just slow it steadily a little bit, just to give them time to be able to take it, turn, then you hit your fish. And without really good polarized sunglasses, you're not going to see that. I tend to use casting gloves. Now, if you're casting things like 80-pound braid against your finger all day, it can rub the top of your skin off. So a casting glove is a good idea. I tend to use a pair of gloves because they give you protection from the back of your hands as well, because the sun's really beating down on your hands all day. So I use a pair of those gloves. What I would say as well is that normally the skippers have got them in the boat, but just take a cheap old pair of hardware gloves with you as well for when you're holding the fish. Some of these fish, especially around the tail areas, have really, really sharp notches all the way along. And the guides will always tell you, put the glove on when you're holding the fish for that trophy shot. And believe me, you will want some trophy shots.
Great fish there.
Fishing in a vast expanse of coastline like this means you're going to be fishing lots of different features. We tended to aim for rocky outcrops, tide races, where you've got great big rocks in the water and a channel that absolutely channels all the bait fish into that area, and you know that big fish are going to be wherever there's bait fish. Fishing in those sort of areas, but then you might then go to a small secluded bay with rocks at one end, a nice sandy beach along the middle, and rocks at the other end, and you'll do all of that and drift through or just slowly motor through. But then the next minute you might be fishing on a huge long sandy beach, not a soul in sight, tree lined all the way through, but it would take you ages to actually fish that area if you just had to motor slowly through. So we tend to troll through those areas, get the trolling rods out with the lures out the back, and just wait for those reels to scream. And when they do, all hell lets loose. It's fantastic.
This is a war of attrition. I think this is a big jack. Whatever it is, it's caught brilliantly.
Now, bait fishing is another aspect. Most of the time when you're moving along and we're fishing out the front of the boat, the skipper's got a bait out the back. Now that bait can be picked up by anything. It normally gets down a lot deeper than any of the lures that you're fishing and could pick up an absolute monster of a fish. Normally that's done as you're moving along, but sometimes they might stop for a while, throw out some baits and just see what's going to happen there, maybe having lunch or something like that. But bait does catch you an awful lot of fish out here.
This is hard work. Whoa! Power of these fish. Absolute power. Still haven't seen what it is yet.
This one proved to be my biggest rooster of the trip. Final method is fly fishing. Now, this is not quite so easy in a place like this, fishing huge expanses of water from a boat. When you're fishing from a static area like a beach, fly fishing is no problem at all. But really here, what you're looking for, you're trying to locate feeding fish. You're trying to locate them into a small area. Once they start feeding, once you find them, you then get the fly rod out quickly, cover the fish. It's not often you have a swimming pool to yourself, and it proved ideal for testing some flies that I'd tied the night before. My aim was to target the smaller rooster fish and the jacks using fly fishing tactics. This particular pattern would prove to be deadly given the right conditions.
Hey! Hook up! Now I got to get it out. That's a good bend in this rod. I'm using a 10 weight rod. I'm using a 40-yard line, but it's got a clear intermediate, about 20 feet of it. Now Gareth Jones of Airflows made this up for me because he's fished for these species before and says sometimes they can be a bit spooked by the fly line, so the clear intermediate at the end makes sure that they're not. This one was not spooked by anything. Wow, what a great take as well. And it's gone deep and it's put a complete bend in this rod. And it's a jack because I can feel it bearing down. But what excitement, blimey. I'm using a fly I tied myself, good quality hook, 4.0, but it's basically white and red, which are trigger colours here, but it's got a lot of silver as well. It's something I use for pike back home, and just to be a shiny bait fish pattern really. I had no hesitation taking it. One of the important things about fly fishing out here for these big fish, you've got to have a good reel, saltwater reel, with a good solid drag that you can turn right down. On the fixed spool reels you can hardly pull any line off them, and we're using 65-70 pound braid there, but this is just a fly rod, fly line, but a lot of backing on it as well. But these jacks don't tend to run out. They make the first run and then go deep, and that's exactly what this one's doing. But I'm trying to lever it up. Once we get it near the surface, that's normally when you know you've got them. We've been out in this bay, we've watched boobies diving into the water, gaking the fish, frigate birds all around and pelicans, and I've been fishing poppers and caught a load doing that. We've all had some great sport. So then Lalo said, try the fly, try the fly. I said, you reckon? Yeah, try. And it didn't take very long and we've hooked up with this one. Fantastic. Good guiding, I say. They both caught on poppers and then I hit one on this fly. It was amazing. Great fight. Fantastic fish. Oh, amazing. Let's go and get another one. Everything fights hard. Whoa. I think it's a jack. Took that popper off the top. Whoa. Certainly bends that rod well. Wow. It's just holding there. Come on, fish. The power on this is unbelievable. It started coming in quite easily. That's when it fooled me. Now it's gone down like 20 feet and it's just pulling there. Trying to hold it up. Now I've got a little bit of line. Not a lot. Crikey. Like with all fish, you want to see them. Yeah, it's a big jack, I think. Oh, it's bigger than I thought it was. Wow, look at that. What a beautiful fish. Wow, on the popper off the top. Beautiful.
Whoa. Well, that was taken right off the top on a big popper, but I think there were probably 10 or more there, and one of them had a go at it, and then this one took it, and I didn't think it looked very big. Then it started to dive down, and crikey, didn't have a fight then. Since we've been here, we've actually caught a dozen species of fish. We've caught a few small ones, but lots of big ones. Some of the ones that stick in my mind are the pompano, the bluefin trevally, beautiful bright blue colours in the water, they're absolutely amazing. Rock snappers, fantastic fish, big fish as well that pull hard. But really, I came for the rooster fish. I'd heard about them, I've seen lots of footage of them, and I really wanted to catch one. Now, I managed to catch rooster fish on the first day. We caught them on a variety of methods. Subsurface lures seem to catch them a little bit better than the surface poppers at times. Then we managed to get the odd one on a bait, and I even caught one on a fly. And it wasn't a huge fish, but it fought well and it jumped well, and I didn't realise they jumped either, so we had some great fun with those. But then we went for the real big ones, and to catch those we used bait, and we had some huge fish doing this. And they fight really hard, they don't jump, they're older fish, bigger fish, but my goodness, don't they ever pull. And when you're having that trophy shot with them, it makes you feel $1 million. There was, however, another fish that really made this trip, and that was the Cabarrus Snapper. What a fish. They're pink coloured, they're absolutely beautiful. They grow to enormous sizes, they fight like the clappers. Oh, it's gone! But they're dirty fighters. They go deep, they try and snag you against rocks and that sort of thing and break your line. The first one I hooked, took a surface lure, dived down deep, snapped the line, just like cotton, 65-pound braid gone against a rock. The next one I hooked, ripped the treble hook off the back of my lure. Later that day though, I did manage to get one on a surface popper, big fish, saw it take it, saw it come up this big pink, like a big pink blanket it was behind the lure. Took it, dived deep, started fighting. Cabarrus Snappers for me now, another thing I want to catch again. They're amazing. You know when it's been a great trip. You just don't want to go home. Amazing fish in action, variety of species and techniques, great company, and incredible sunsets.